Hi guys, I have a lot of interesting stories. I suggest you listen to them. You will like it. Scotland doesn't just have weather, it has a full-blown personality disorder. One moment it's sunny, the next it's raining sideways, and if you wait 5 minutes, the wind will try to rearrange your skeleton. But honestly, that's part of the charm. The Highlands are dramatic, moody, and, frankly, a little theatrical. If nature had a diva phase, this would be it. Now, the thing about the Highlands isn't just the scenery. The endless lochs that look like they're plotting something, or the mountains rising like giants that forgot to sit down. No, it's the feeling. That prickly little sensation that something is off. Not wrong, exactly. Just tilted. Like reality's had a pint too many. People love to romanticize Scotland. Bagpipes, tartan, castles, whiskey. The whole Outlander fantasy. But let me tell you, spend one night alone in a Highland cottage when the wind sounds like a banshee on overtime, and you'll be on the first train back to London, clutching your tea like a life raft. Because here's the truth, Scotland has more ghosts than pubs. And that's saying something. Of course, the locals pretend it's no big deal. Oh the old road's haunted, but you'll be fine, they'll say, as if discussing a slightly inconvenient pothole. They've lived with these stories for centuries, passing them down like family recipes. Except instead of scones, you get tales of headless horsemen and spectral cars. I didn't believe any of it at first. Honestly, I thought the Highlands were just good marketing. Mystical mist, spooky castles, a ghost tour for every town. It's practically an industry. But then I heard the stories. Not from guides, but from the locals, in quiet voices, by the crackle of a pub fireplace. That's when it gets real. That's when you stop laughing. So pull up a chair, pour yourself a dram, and let me tell you about the things that make even the toughest Highlander sleep with the light on. Listen to the story that happened by the fireplace. Every town in the Highlands has that house. You know the one, too quiet, too still, with windows that look like eyes half closed in disapproval. In this particular story, the house wasn't a Gothic ruin perched on a cliff. No, it was almost annoyingly normal, cozy even, whitewashed walls, a tidy little garden, and a chimney that puffed smoke like it had a story to tell. A young couple rented it for a honeymoon. Sweet, right? A romantic Highland retreat, surrounded by green hills and sheep with judgmental stares. They were ready for candlelit dinners, late-night whiskey tastings, and Instagram captions like living our best life in the Highlands. The first 2 nights were perfect, or so they thought, except for the fireplace. Even when unlit, it had a strange presence. You know how some objects just feel like they're watching you? Like your grandmother's old porcelain doll, silently plotting? That fireplace had that energy. The couple laughed it off. It's an old house, they said. It's just character. By the 3rd night, the house decided to introduce itself properly. It began with a sound, a dull, rhythmic thud. Not loud, not frantic, just steady. Thud. Pause. Thud. Like someone knocking from inside the walls, or maybe a neighbor doing late-night DIY with their forehead. The husband investigated, because of course he did. And that's when he saw her. She stood by the fireplace, head bowed, hair hanging wet and limp as if she'd just climbed out of a loch. Her dress clung to her body like it had been soaked for years, and she was hitting her head against the wall. Not fast, not violently, but relentlessly, as if sheer persistence could break through to another world. Each impact left a dark smear that dripped down the wallpaper like the house was bleeding. And her face, oh, her face, twisted with something beyond grief, beyond rage, a look that said, I know you, and you don't belong here. Then, just as suddenly as she appeared, she was gone. No puff of smoke, no ghostly exit line, just gone, leaving behind silence so thick you could butter it and spread it on toast. They didn't sleep that night, or the next, because it happened again and again. The same figure, the same dreadful, monotonous knocking of her skull against the wall, as if she had an appointment with madness and was late. When they finally fled, because of course they fled, the house stood there, innocent as ever. And here's the punchline, the story didn't end there. Because the old woman who told this tale at a Highland party added one last detail, with the kind of casual shrug only the Scots can pull off. That was her house. Years ago, during the war, her husband left for the front. And while he was away, she discovered his letters. Love letters. To someone else. That night, she sat by the fire, consumed by rage so pure it could scorch stone. And she left her mark on the wall. Some people leave behind heirlooms. Others leave echoes. The Highlands don't forget. And neither, apparently, did she. And here is a story about a strange car. They call it the loneliest road in Scotland, a narrow ribbon of asphalt twisting through a landscape so empty it feels like the earth ran out of ideas. Mountains rise like sleeping giants, and locks glimmer like dark eyes that never blink. Beautiful, yes. Comforting? Not so much, especially when the fog rolls in. On the Isle of Skye, there's a story about a car. Not just any car, a black vintage beast from another era. The kind that looks like it should come with a chauffeur named Mortimer. It appears on nights when the mist is thick and the moon hides like it owes someone money. Tourists have seen it, locals have seen it, and one unlucky cyclist swears it chased him for 3 miles before vanishing into thin air. The detail that really gets people? The car doesn't make a sound. No engine roar. No gravel crunch. Just headlights slicing through the dark like twin blades, coming closer and closer until suddenly, nothing. No car. No lights. Just your own heartbeat, hammering like a punk drummer on Red Bull. Some say it's an omen, a warning of death. Others claim it's a relic from the war, forever stuck on a road it never finished. But the most popular theory, it's a Highlander who hated being late so much that not even death could slow him down. Now the story about the castle, the vanishing castle. Castles are everywhere in Scotland. Some are ruins, crumbling like old teeth. Others stand proud, full of tourists clutching guidebooks and overpriced scones. But then there's the one that isn't always there. Imagine this, you're driving through a glen, the kind that looks like a screensaver, and there it is, a castle straight out of a fairy tale. Towers, turrets, the whole medieval Pinterest mood. You pull over, take a photo, maybe even plan a visit, but when you come back, gone. No castle, no ruins, just empty hills humming with the sound of wind and sheep gossiping about your sanity. Locals shrug it off. It's the vanishing one, they say, as if that explains anything. Theories abound. It's a time slip, a mirage, or the universe playing peekaboo. Personally, I think it's the castle itself. Maybe it just hates tourists. Have you heard of Mrs. Rose? Mrs. Rose and the time slip. Mrs. Rose was the kind of woman who didn't believe in nonsense. She believed in schedules, coupons, and tea strong enough to wake the dead, ironically appropriate, given what happened next. One afternoon, she decided to take a shortcut across a field. Perfectly normal. Except halfway through, the world changed. The air felt heavier, the colors brighter, and the distant hills looked sharper, like they'd been polished. And then she saw them. People in old-fashioned clothes, moving about as if a picnic was in full swing. Except there was no sound. No laughter, no wind. Just silence so deep it pressed on her ears. Mrs. Rose did what any sensible British woman would do, pretended everything was fine, and walked briskly toward the exit. But when she reached the road, her hands were shaking so badly she could barely unlock her car. Later, she learned that field had once been the site of a great battle. Some say time leaves cracks, and sometimes, just sometimes, people fall through. The Highlands aren't just a place. They're a mood, a trickster, a long-running practical joke played on humanity. For every postcard perfect view, there's a shadow that doesn't belong. For every cheery pub, a story whispered too late at night. I've been to a strange place too. The Highlands aren't just a place. They're a mood, a trickster, a long-running practical joke played on humanity. For every postcard perfect view, there's a shadow that doesn't belong. For every cheery pub, there's a story whispered too late at night. And for every quaint little B/B, there's a bathroom where the mirror fogs up just enough for you to see letters spelling out "get out," though in my case, it turned out to be "get OAT," which made sense because they were serving porridge downstairs. Anyway, I thought I understood the Highlands. I'd seen the brochure's cozy cottages, mist rolling over locks like Mother Nature's own dry ice machine, and sheep so photogenic they probably have their own Instagram accounts. What those brochures never mention is that the Highlands are also smug. They know things. They have secrets. And sometimes, if you're really unlucky or lucky, depending on your sense of humor, they share one with you. It started with a simple plan. Take a solo trip, clear my head, and write the novel I'd been pretending to work on for 6 years. Just me, the mountains, and a laptop with exactly 3 words typed, Chapter 1 Help. I booked a stone cottage on the edge of nowhere, packed enough snacks to survive an apocalypse, or at least the Highland version of bad weather, and hopped on a train heading north. From the moment I arrived, things were off. Nothing dramatic at first, just little things. The taxi driver who picked me up at the station gave me a look like I'd said I was moving into Dracula's Airbnb. "Where did you say you're staying?" he asked, adjusting the rearview mirror to stare at me instead of the road. "Glen Corrin Cottage," I replied cheerfully. His eyebrows attempted an escape up his forehead. Brave choice." Now, when someone says brave choice, you expect them to elaborate, right? Explain what you're being brave about. A broken boiler? The fact that Wi-Fi only works when Mercury's in retrograde? But nope. He just started humming loudly and took the longest, most winding route I've ever experienced. By the time we arrived, I was either thoroughly spooked or suffering from early car sickness-induced hallucinations. The cottage itself was perfect. And by perfect, I mean the kind of perfect that feels staged. Like a movie set where everything looks rustic and cozy. But if you lean on the wrong wall, you'll discover it's made of cardboard. The key was under a flower pot, of course. And the note inside said, "Welcome. Make yourself at home. The kettle's ready. Don't mind the wind. It's just the hills talking." I laughed. Out loud. Alone. In an empty cottage. Which, in hindsight, was probably mistake number 1. That first evening, I sat by the fire, sipping tea, feeling like the main character in a BBC drama called Writer in the Wild, pretends to be productive. Then the wind started. Not a normal wind. A Highlands wind. The kind that doesn't just howl. It pronounces. It sounded like it was practicing Gaelic insults outside my window. Around midnight, I heard it, the voice. Soft. Almost like a whisper sliding under the door. Naturally, I did what any rational adult would do. Pulled the blanket over my head and convinced myself it was the kettle boiling again. At 1 a.m, with no water in it. The next day, I went for a hike to clear my head. The hills stretched endlessly, draped in mist, looking like they were auditioning for a role in Lord of the Rings. The Scottish cut. That's when I noticed it. Footprints. Not mine. Not human either, unless humans in these parts have 3 toes and a fondness for walking in circles. I laughed it off. Probably a sheep. I said aloud to no one, which is exactly when a sheep appeared, stared me dead in the eyes, and shook its head. Shook its head. There are plenty of local legends and awkward pubs. That night, I went to the village pub, hoping for a pint and maybe some reassurance that the hills weren't alive with the sound of poltergeists. The pub was warm, lively, and filled with locals who looked like they'd all been given the same memo. Don't scare the tourist. Or do. I tried to make small talk. So, Glencorran Cottage, nice spot, right? The barman froze mid-pour. A woman in the corner dropped her knitting. Even the jukebox stopped, like it knew drama was about to unfold. Finally, the barman leaned in and said, "You're staying up there?" Well, mind the mist. The mist? I asked. He said gravely. It listens. And then he walked away, leaving me with my pint and the overwhelming urge to Google "Can mist kill you?" That night, the cottage doors creaked like they were auditioning for a horror film. The fire flickered even though I hadn't lit it. And then the Wi-Fi came back on, which was the most supernatural event of all. I decided to check the history of Glencorran Cottage. Big mistake. Turns out the place used to belong to a storyteller. A famous one. The kind who wrote tales about things that walk the hills at night. Things that don't like strangers, things that knock. Right on cue, knock. Knock. At the window. Heart racing, I grabbed the heaviest object in the room. A decorative bagpipe, don't ask, and tiptoed to the window. Slowly, I pulled back the curtain and saw a sheep wearing a neon green collar that said Hamish. Behind it, a man in a raincoat waved cheerfully. "Evenin'. Sorry. My sheep's got a habit of wanderin'. Hope he didn't give ye a fright." I laughed. Out loud. Again. Relief flooded me. I opened the door to let Hamish back to his owner, and that's when I saw it. Etched faintly on the inside of the door, like someone had scratched it long ago. "You can laugh now, but don't stay past 3 nights." I glanced back. The man was gone. Hamish was gone. The hills were silent. I checked out the next morning. The Highlands will charm you, trick you, and maybe, just maybe, teach you that when the hills whisper, it's never about the weather. So next time you find yourself there, wrapped in mist and silence, remember this. The Highlands don't care what you believe. They don't care about your schedule, your phone signal, or your cozy assumptions about reality. They were here long before you. They'll be here long after. And maybe, just maybe, they're watching,